welcome everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media. All the disinformation and misinformation, we want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening, and as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new, awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Hello and welcome to Total Truth Show, episode 141, The Truth About Brumby Numbers. This is a hot topic today, and I'm so excited. We have our guest coming to us live from the farm in New South Wales. I'll come to her in just a moment. Ken Kleinberg, my co-host. How are you going today?
Doing good.
Excellent. Coming to us from San Diego. And now a little bit about our guest, Rachael Macdonald, today. She is the owner of Talgarth Farm and member of the New Dawn Safe Haven Sanctuary. She is a Brumby owner and carer for orphan foals. So she's very well versed on our topic today. And some of you may be aware that our beautiful Brumbies, or wild horses, have been shot by helicopters several times over the last few years by the New South Wales Government, National Parks and Wildlife, the Australian government's behind this. There's a massive Snowy 2.0 hydro project going through the Mount Kosciuszko National Park, and these horses are being shot by helicopter up to 15 times, they're saying, and in the most inhumane ways and the most disgusting ways, and the public are up in arms about it. And it's about time that the truth started to get out there, and it is thanks to people like Rachael. So welcome to the show, Rachael.
Thanks, Aldwyn. Thanks, Ken. Good to be here.
You're welcome.
Great to have you here. Now, let us know firstly a little bit about your background in this field and why you're so passionate about this.
Well, I've grown up with horses since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and been riding up in the mountains for many, many years. I am not a local in the mountains, but I do feel like I am part of it, and took on some Brumbies when they started coming out of the national parks in traps, and then I'm still a carer for foals. We've got 4 foals this year, but I've always been in the environment space and worked with and for many levels of government, so I've got a strong background in the way government works, environmental policy, strategy and legislation. So tying all of that together, and right now trying to help the Brumbies and national parks and the Brumby advocates come together so that we can actually get some mutual discussions happening so that we can get a better outcome, because what's happening right now is not okay.
No, it's absolutely not okay. And for those who don't know what's happening, then, look at some of these Brumby groups, join some of these. There's so many amazing Facebook groups and people that are doing their best to help save the Brumbies. And, we've seen some absolute and barbaric animal cruelty, I would say, has been happening, and there's absolutely no logic or reasoning behind it that makes any sense whatsoever. And when you see, we put a press release out on my media website, AA Expos Media, and I'm going to share that link in here. If you go into their into the news section, there you will see Brumbies face extinction while Snowy 2.0 blasts Kosciuszko National Park. And Aussie Daily did a story based on that press release. They've interviewed myself and Lynn Sutherland now around that, and those stories have been going viral, which is fantastic to see that the people are sharing these stories and are getting the truth out there, because what we're seeing in the mainstream media is definitely not the truth, and people can smell a lie now. They can smell a lie, and we've had enough. The people have had enough. So I recommend check out that here. You can go here to aaexpos.com and have a look at the news section there. You'll see that press release, which gives you a lot of the background of what's really going on behind this. And, they're saying that the Brumbies are causing damage to the environment. They're saying that they're a feral pest. They're saying their numbers are 16,000 or so is what they're saying. So what's the truth about the Brumby numbers that you know of, Rachel?
The numbers that they're using to justify this aerial cull, which has finished now, but will start up again in November, they do what they call an aerial or distance sampling, where they fly over certain parts of the park. They count how many horses they can see, and then they use an algorithm, which is called the Cairns model, to run over those figures. So the figures back in 20... I'd have to put my glasses on to read this. Sorry, I'm blind. So the numbers back in 2020, so 22, the distance sampling model populated from this Cairns model was 18,000 horses, 18,000 and some change. But when you're actually on the ground, they make that up from numbers of around 400 or 500 that they can actually physically see, and then they extrapolate that data, and then they get these sample models. But the confidence range of these numbers is sometimes up to 10,000 difference. So from 16,000 right through to 23,000, when they've based that on a population that they have physically seen of 512. So what they're doing, and I understand from a statistical point of view, because I live and breathe data. I own a data and analytics company. So I know what they're trying to do. You can't see every part of the park. It's 690,000 acres. It's a very big park. So they have to use a sampling model to try and estimate the population. But the confidence range in this model is just well and truly incorrect. And we've been saying it for a long time. The data that they're using says that there's well and truly less than 3,000 horses in there. In 2023, they came up with a completely different number, which was about more realistic in regards to the total number of horses in the park, which was under 3,000. And then, of course, that population exploded in 24, 25 and 26, according to the statistics. And if you look back at the numbers, they're trying to say that horses can have litters, which they can't. So a single horse's gestation is 11 months. And not all of those horses come through. Babies die, mothers die. And they're also basing this model that they're using, the Cairns model, to do the statistical analysis, saying that every horse in the park is a breeding horse, which again is not correct, because you've got stallions and colts. Now they can make babies, but they can't have babies, of course. So it's a little bit ridiculous saying that there are 23,000 horses in the park, and that's their basis for justification, so that they can shoot them and trap them and remove them out of the park. So they've done this right across Australia. They did it with the Bogon High Plains. They've done it with Barmer, using a similar statistical model, and now those horses are no longer in the parks there at all. They're gone. They're extinct from those areas.
Wow, which means they're totally extinct. Is that right? Are they anywhere else, these horses?
There are wild horses right across Australia. We're not unique in regards to that in the Kosciuszko National Park. It's just that they've played such a big part of our history in Kosciuszko. The horses came over, of course, with the first fleet. So we're not these crazy Brumby advocates that don't understand that these are not native animals. We do understand that they have been introduced to Australia, but they have adapted, and our country has adapted over 200 years. And their numbers do need to be managed. We're not saying that you can't manage them, but it's the way that they're being managed to total extinction and in the most inhumane ways that we have a problem with. But there are wild horses all over the place. We at New Dawn have some Northern Territory horses that we helped, with a whole lot of other people, remove from the Northern Territory, and they're homed now down in New South Wales with us. Some have gone off to their forever homes and others stay in sanctuary. But the wild horse populations are right across Australia, not just in Kosciuszko National Park. But that's the focus at the moment, because that's where the culling is. There is more aerial culling scheduled for the Yeeringar National Park, which is further up close to you, Aldwyn, in northern New South Wales, on the 24th of August to the 28th of August. So it's happening right across Australia, the aerial culling, and there are other more humane ways to manage the numbers of these animals.
And I've heard that there were people willing to come and save these brumbies and that they weren't allowed onto the park. Can you share about what you know about that?
So they do close the park when they're undertaking aerial shooting, of course, for safety reasons. But we did have a number of people with boots on the ground trying to stop the culling as much as they could. But they do close the park with aerial culling, but they can go in and ground shoot at any time. They don't have to close the park for that.
Right. Yes. And the thing is, the truth about it is that brumbies are actually, as we had in our press release, they're among nature's most effective natural gardeners. They actually help the environment by dispersing seeds through their nutrient-rich manure and grazing on tall, dry vegetation, which minimizes bushfires and also reduces fuel loads. So they actually help the environment, as opposed to, they're saying their hard hooves cause all sorts of damage. While in particular the Mount Kosciuszko situation, meanwhile the $42 billion Snowy 2.0 pumped hydro project is blasting 40 kilometres of tunnels up to 1 kilometre beneath Kosciuszko National Park, creating one of Australia's largest infrastructure projects. This is a green energy project, right, that is just creating all sorts of havoc, and apparently a lot is not going to schedule and not going to plan with this Snowy project either. And it's outrageous to think that a few horses are causing damage to the environment when human beings are creating something like the Snowy project. And then now they're putting 1080 poisoning everywhere as well, which is now killing a whole lot of other animals. And they're leaving their 1080 tubs behind as well. I've seen a whole lot of photos of them just leaving their poison everywhere with the containers that the poison come in. They're being dumped all over the place as well. So what are you seeing on the ground, or what do you know about that, Rachael?
And we're blaming the Brumbies for this.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. If you look at the footprint of the Snowy 2 project and the roads and the infrastructure that they have had to put into the national park, it's done a huge amount of damage to the environment. Yet you've got a few hundred, maybe a few thousand Brumbies, not anymore, a few thousand, we're well and truly less than that now, who are. They all follow a Brumby pad, and this is where the other side, the Invasive Species Council and other environmentalists, are saying that the Brumbies are doing damage because they get into the sphagnum moss, they get into the waterways and they splash around and they create erosion. But on the ground, that's not the case. We ride up in the park all of the time. The Brumbies and other animals will find the easiest route to get across the creeks and the bogs. They won't go round and into the bogs if they can help it, because they don't like it. They don't like the when the ground moves underneath them. The horses generally don't like it, so they stay away from the bogs as much as they can, and they just go there to drink and then to cross. But those crossings are used by every animal. They're used by pigs, deer, dogs, humans, and kangaroos and wombats. The Brumby pads that the Invasive Species Council say are part of the problem with these horses being in the park, those those tracks are used by everything. And you're not going to have the care that the Brumbies take once they're gone of the grasslands. Like you say, they do control the fuel load. The wildfires that came through, and I do use the term wildfire because they were the most catastrophic fires we've had here in Australia in 2019, 2020, so what we call our Black Summer. Those fires ripped through the park. And it's now a desert scape in some areas. The undergrowth that's coming up is very thick. Without the horses there to manage the grass layer, the fires that go through that park now are going to be even worse than what we saw in 2019, 2020.
Right. So, yes, brace yourself for more of that coming through. And meanwhile, in the US, the Bureau of Land Management apparently is unloading thousands of Mustangs from holding facilities, the wild horses over there, many without public notice, oversight or ethical care. And some are being sold for as little as $1 to known kill buyers who profit by sending them over the border to slaughter. So the horses are being used for their meat as well. In many parts of the world, and they're also being shot inhumanely and in most disgusting ways in America as well. So it's obviously not isolated to Australia with what's going on, and it's just absolutely shocking. And to see the photos online of the mothers being shot and the foals being left beside them, and then and then certain rare breeds. Being shot in holding facilities as well. Can you share a bit more about that, Rachel?
Yeah, so that does happen, unfortunately. And we do have knackeries here that horses go to. If they're not taken out of the Kosciuszko National Park and given to the rehomers, and there are 4 approved rehomers that go through quite a stringent process to become a rehomer, and then they have to go through that reapproval every 12 months. It's not something that's a set and forget. The horses, if they're not taken by the rehomers, are sent straight to the knackery out of parks, because once they've been trapped, they can't go back into the park. Sometimes they do get shot in the yards as well, which is why our rehoming programs and the sanctuaries that then take some of these animals on are really important. Here in Australia, I know that there are some that do the same things in the US for the Mustangs in regards to taking them. But yeah, parks. I'll just go through some numbers with you there, Aldwyn, in regards to the. Sorry, I had to put my glasses back on so I can see.
That's great. And I just while you're looking at your numbers there, I just want to welcome everyone who's joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Hello. We love for this to be an interactive show. So if you have some extra information that could be beneficial or some things for people to think about, please pop your comments in the chat, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Rachel.
So back in 2021, according to the government statistics, there were 443 horses that were rehomed. 17 were others without any information as to what happened to those. So a total of 460 in 21 that were taken out of the park. Then skipping through, so it was similar numbers that happened in 22, but 177 went to the slaughterhouse. 23, there were 802 shot by the helicopters. 782 were ground shot, and then around 400, so 435 sent to rehomers, and 437 horses sent to knackery. 200 were other deaths, really. So we're not sure what that means. Some mean we know that they are shot in the yards. Some might have been injured that needed to be shot in the yards for humane reasons. Others we're not sure. So in 23, there was a total of 2,656 horses that came out of the parks, if we can trust their numbers, of course, which not all of us do. In 24, they did a huge aerial cull. Actually, there was more than one, and they say there was 5,167 horses killed in that aerial cull. We on the ground didn't believe it because there were not 5,000 horse carcasses across the park. There just weren't. So again, the truth of their numbers, we can't believe it when they've got a confidence level of 10,000 when they're talking about the numbers. but less in 2003 went to the knackery. More were rehomed, and that's happening further and further. So 25 and 26, there were none, according to the government's statistics, that went to slaughterhouses. And in those 2 years, there's been just over 200 rehomed. So they come out of the parks, 6, 7, 10, 20 at a time, and the rehomers try to take as many as they can because they know it's going to happen as well. If they can't take them, because like I said, once the horses are trapped, parks cannot let them back into the park because they are, I hate to use the word because it's got so many connotations around it, but they are a feral animal. They're an introduced species, and it's an offence under the national parks legislation to put a feral animal into the park. So they can't release them. We've got some lovely, lovely supporters out there that want the rehomers to hold these horses until the government changes its mind and welcomes the horses in the park. But realistically, that's not possible either, because the government's never going to change that legislation and let them back into the park. You can't just dump them in there. So there's a range of ways that the national parks around here are getting the horses out, and unfortunately some of them do go to slaughter.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting, and I don't like that word feral either. In fact, I think human beings are the most feral species that have come to the planet. Once upon a time we didn't have human beings on the planet, right? And I mean, look at the damage that human beings have created to the environment and to so many animals that have become endangered over time. So if I was to use that feral word, I'd definitely put it on certain human beings, particularly in government and in high up places that are very, very, I would say, satanic, very dark forces. And as Tabitha says, F the government sickos. F the government sicko. They absolutely are completely delusional. I mean, just look at what's happened with Epstein, for example, who I believe is still alive out there. These child sacrifices and stuff that have been happening across the world, all these, orphan children missing. And, there's definitely some dark forces out there right now. And at the same time, we also have the light forces, and we have some people doing amazing things like yourself, Rachel, and obviously people in the Brumby sanctuaries that are doing their best to help save the Brumbies. And I take my hat off to you guys that are, shining a light on the truth of what's going on and doing our best to help. And I do believe if we don't stand for something, we will fall for anything. And I think it is a time now for the people to unite and to say enough is enough, and to keep stepping up and keep speaking up, because if we don't, this kind of stuff will just keep happening, and there won't be any justice for our animals whatsoever. I mean, look at, we brought the cane toad in to manage the cane beetle, and then the cane toads got out of hand. I mean, there's been so many introduced species to Australia, including white human beings. I mean, the originals were the Aboriginals, of course. The original Australians are the Aboriginals, and they worked with the land. They used the land for medicine. They didn't destroy it the way that civilization, I guess, since English settlement into Australia, the way that, yes, it's helped in some ways. Yes, sure, there's benefits of having the colonization, I guess, of Australia. There have been benefits, and there have been also some very horrific side effects of that as well. And so, yes, it's very interesting. And, in the press release we did, we actually had a chat there. We've got some information from we spoke to Victoria Kirchhoff, who's the project manager of Fondation France Weber's Wild Horse Sanctuary, Bonrook, and also Andrew Wildsmith, who is a Narragansett horseman from the area. And he was saying at the time, he says that there's only about 800 Brumbies, he was saying roughly, that they knew of in the local area. So I don't know where the government are getting these statistics from, but, the Invasive Species Council, they get a lot of government funding, and they seem to be incredibly invasive. They kill off a lot of the wildlife and are behind some of the most horrific things. And I believe a lot of them are involved in hunting for sport, hunting animals for sport. So you've got to question, how much of this sort of sick behavior is actually led by what actually needs to happen and how much is led by people in high places that are just getting their rocks off on killing animals.
It's ridiculous what they're doing. And without trust in the numbers, how can you have a government that you trust? So they're undermining so many things that we do. And like you said, Aldwyn, we need to speak out. And this time, I've been in this Brumby world now for only 5 or so years, but there's been people that have lived in the high country and they live their whole lives around these horses. Generations and generations of country men and women have been looking after these horses for generations, and they are finding it really sad to go up into the park. We rode up in the park just a few weeks ago, and the horses' behaviour up there was extraordinary. Don't know whether you've had a chance to have a look at some videos that have been out there, but we had Brumbies running up to us as a mob looking to see whether our horses were part of their lost family, and we've never had that happen before. It was really sad to see them, and the fear but yet excitement on their face, thinking, I found them, but we weren't their mob. So then they run away. And like I said at the beginning, I look after the foals. So some of these foals, when they're tiny, their mothers stash them because they can't walk so far. Mothers stash them in a nice warm spot and then go and graze and then come back to them. But if the mothers are being shot or chased away by helicopters, then the babies are left. And we have had a lot in the past, in the previous culls, where they've been found, and unfortunately some of them were found a little bit too late and didn't make it through. But I've had 4 foals this last 6 months, not through aerial culling. So some of their mothers were shot, but not through the aerial culling. And then others, one was a snake bite, and another one died giving birth to the little one. So getting back to the management of the horses, the numbers don't increase by 550% each year. It's just not physically or statistically possible for that to happen. So the propaganda that comes out of the invasive species, and that is also on the environment websites and coming from government, it's incorrect. And they get money and we don't get money. So we are privately and publicly funded. No government grants, nothing in regards to the sanctuaries or the rehomers. It's all done off our own backs and through the help of our loyal supporters who sponsor horses or will put money in for feed or for fencing or whatever we're calling out to help. But the land is our own. You know, when we can't lease land in some cases. So our 2 new dawn sanctuaries are on private properties. It would be fantastic if we could all put in for money and buy a dedicated sanctuary that was run by a trust, as an example. But that's a dream that we all have. Whether it becomes reality, we're not so sure. But we're still trying, because we have to keep going. We have to keep moving. Now, you mentioned Andrew Wildsmith there too. So yeah, he's a Narragansett man. I'm a Wiradjuri woman. So Wiradjuri's one of the bordering tribe around the Narragansett area, so the Snowy Mountains. We all try to do our best for country, and the Narragansett have taken in these horses and they're now part of their culture because they've been here for so long. And yep, you're right, the invasive species was us coming over, or the white fellas coming over back in 1788, and atrocities have happened there as well. But the Narragansett have taken in these horses for the Snowy Mountains, but mobs right across Australia have also taken in these horses, and they're now part of their culture. They're part of their songlines, and they help to manage them and then work with the animals, all animals and country, to manage it. We're just not getting the say in regards to the management of these national parks that mob need to. A bit off topic there.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. I hear you. I'm sure Ken has some burning questions there. He's been very quiet in the background. Ken, is there something you want to share?
One of the questions that came to my mind earlier is like, okay, first of all, who determined in the first place that all of a sudden there's too many Brumbies? And number two, who in the first place determined, let's just start with that first question. Like, why can't everybody just live together happily? Like, what the heck?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so the government, to answer your question in one word, the government decided that there were too many horses. But that was through consultation with other organisations such as the Invasive Species Council. There is a wild horse group that contributes some information back into the government as well. Now, whether that's good or bad, we're not sure. But the government made the decision. Now, and we're not crazy Brumby people. There are extremes in every group, of course. But for the majority of people, we're not crazy. And we do understand that the horses need to be managed. You can't just let them run free forever without properly managing them across the park like you would for any animal. You can't let the deer breed up in crazy numbers because they will do destruction, or they do cause a lot of destruction for anywhere they are. It doesn't have to be national parks, but it used to be that when there were leases, grazing leases for cattle up in the Kosciuszko National Park in particular, that the mountain country people would manage the numbers of the horses. Now that they're not allowed to have cattle up there, there's not a number of people up there that can actually manage the horses without being in contradiction from a government policy or a legislation point of view, because you can't carry a gun, as an example, into a national park. National parks people can, and if you do see an injured horse or something like that, then you can call them and they will come and humanely euthanize them, which is needed. But a long time ago, 150 years or so ago, the mountain country people would manage the horses. If there were too many stallions in a mob, they would humanely shoot some of the ones that weren't so good looking. Or if there was a sick horse, they would put it down. If there was some inbreeding going on, they would manage that as well. So the horse numbers were managed. Since national parks took it over, that's not been allowed to happen, and then the numbers have increased, but certainly not to 23,000. If there were 23,000 horses in that national park, you wouldn't be able to move, you'd be run over all of the time. There are now well and truly less than the 3,000. So just on another topic there, where that 3,000 figure came from is out of the Heritage Act that has now since been repealed, that was to put in place some of those heritage lines. I think there were 5 heritage lines around the Kosciuszko Park, and the number in the retention zones was supposed to be up to 3,000. That's where they wanted the number to get to. There was a flyover done a few weeks ago now of those 5 retention zones that are in the national park, and they saw a total of 86 horses, I believe it was, nowhere near the 3,000 that there are supposed to be there. And even if you extrapolated that number out using the Cairns model, you'd still get less than 3,000 horses in the park, in the retention zones where they're supposed to, or allowed to be. And again, when we went riding up there a few weeks ago, we saw a few hundred in total, but that was not all in the retention zones. That was in the areas where they don't want the horses to be as well. But were they chased up there and out of the retention zones so they could shoot them? Some people think so. But the park is quiet now. It's certainly not what it used to be. And one of the biggest things that you hear the locals say is you go into the park and it's silent. There's no birds, there's no horses, there's very few kangaroos. You might hear the odd dog and see the odd dog, and you can see the damage from the pigs and the deer, but you don't see very much else, which is really sad.
Yeah, that is.
Would that be from the 1080 poisoning as well, Rachel? Has that been killing everything off in there?
We rode before the 1080 was dropping out there. It's because of the noise that was there, the quad bikes, the people walking through, the ground shooters, just chasing everything away, and getting right away from where people normally walk or hike or ride horses. We are all concerned about what the 1080 is going to do for the rest of the animals. We know that it stays, if a rabbit eats a 1080 bait and then gets eaten by an eagle, then that carries through. It's really not a nice thing to do. Deer will eat the 1080 carrots. Pigs will eat the 1080 carrots. Kangaroos and wombats will eat the 1080 carrots. So what we see, this is my opinion actually. My opinion is the government doesn't like to have animals because it doesn't make them money. Snowy 2 makes them money. Why else are they doing this in the national parks? And this is not just happening here, it's happening right across Australia. Is it because they want to mine it? Is it because they want to put in solar farms or wind farms or any of the other green energy that they're talking about to get us to that net zero? Why are they doing this? That's my question. I don't think it's because they have an environmental purpose. I think it's about money.
Yes, who profits? If you want to know what's going on in the world, follow the money trail, as they say, and that's what it says in the Thrive documentaries. I'm just doing a bit of research into 1080. It's called sodium fluoroacetate. It's a highly toxic chemical that interferes with the citric acid cycle, a critical metabolic pathway that converts food into energy in cells. And so what it does with carnivores, dogs and foxes, they get central nervous system shutdown, which leads to seizures, loss of coordination, and respiratory failure. For herbivores like deer and wallabies, they get cardiac failure, which can result in sudden collapse and death. Omnivores like pigs, it shows neurological and cardiac symptoms before dying. And even small doses can be lethal. So, for example, a 30-kilo dog can die from less than 2 milligrams of 1080 poisoning. And then, of course, secondary poisoning occurs when predators or scavengers eat animals that have ingested 1080, as you say. So it's highly, highly toxic for the environment, and it wouldn't surprise me if so many animals have died and it's so quiet because of that as well. It's absolutely disgusting. And as Tabitha says here, Brumby's wild and free, and there's so much in the world we cannot control, including what the government does. However, if enough people speak up and we stay on the case, surely there needs to be a massive investigation into this. I mean, in Victoria, they shot over 1,000 koalas down there, and now Australians for Animals are taking them to court, right? So it's time that they're held accountable. And yes, the horses manage themselves. They're beautiful, beautiful animals. And from what I know of horses, they're mostly incredibly gentle beings, and they're very healing for humans. We have a charity here on the Gold Coast called Healing Hooves, which we've supported many times in the past with different animal action events, etc. Now, I'm curious, Rachael, as someone who has your own farm, you've got Talgarth Farm, I'd love to know, what is the process for a sanctuary that takes in a Brumby? What is the process of sort of, I guess, domesticating them, or, what do you do with the Brumbies, and how do you find their personalities and how you deal with them, I guess?
They are an incredibly smart horse, and I've got 24 of my own horses as well as a heap of Brumbies, so I can tell you from experience the difference in their personality is that the Brumbies are very, very smart, but they've had to be smart. They've been bred smart. They've had to fend for themselves up in the mountains. They've got to look out for I won't say predators, but dogs are still a predator, and they can take down a young horse. So they still need to look after their own. They're very trusting once you gain their trust, and you've got it then forever with the Brumby. With my domestic horses, and I've got quarter horses and stock horses and thoroughbreds and Percherons and minis and Shetlands. I've got a range of things. They're just not as smart as the Brumbies. They are the most beautiful animals. So what the process is when we get them wild, they go to a rehomer. They sit in the trap yards in national parks for a few days. Then the rehomers pick them up, and generally they stay there for a day or more. And then we use specific crates or trucks to bring them to a sanctuary, or to some get sold directly to other people. But what we do is when we get the Brumby, we will put them into yards and gradually let them out into a paddock that has electric fences, so that they understand that they can't now go wherever they want to go, that there are boundaries. But we do try to make them as free as they possibly can be, but we have to have them somewhat handled, because once they come into domestic life, even though we want them to be as free as we can, they still need to be looked after. They still have to have their teeth done, potentially. Not all have to do that. They have to have their feet trimmed, not as much as your domestic horse, but you still need to be able to do that, because they're not ranging over 690,000 hectares. So they're not trimming down their feet. So they need to be managed so that you don't have animal welfare issues. They also need to be able to see a vet if they hurt themselves. So we do try and we call it gentling. We do try and get them gentle enough so that you can put a halter on them, that you can pick up their feet and move them around from paddock to paddock, so that they are not stuck in the one place. And we're managing worm burdens, we're managing feed, and trying to rest paddocks. So there's not just the horse's welfare that you have to look after when you bring these animals into sanctuary. You've got to look after the land as well, to make sure that you can try and sustainably feed them. And then they have to come in for feed as well. So they have to understand what it is to have a bale of lucerne, or have some chaff in a bucket where we put their wormers. And if they're doing poorly, then it's all about getting them better in regards to the nutrition that they would normally be okay with grazing over the long plains, but their boundaries are limited once they come in. So it's about managing that. It's not where we want them to be. We all want them to be out in the parks. We want them to be wild and free. That's the ideal, but we can't do that. So the next best thing is to bring them in, manage them, and get them gently handled. Don't push them. We don't push them very hard at all, but they are very smart. You do see some Brumbies around that have gone through a complete training process, and they go to shows, they do parades. We've got some Brumbies here with us today, actually, that are being ridden around, and they're amazing. They don't scare easily once they've been trained. They're just very, very smart animals. And I do silly things with mine, like I get the foals. So if I'm making up their milk bottles, I'll open the door and they'll come in and say g'day in the kitchen with me. And then we'll head back out and give them their bottles. But they really are the most amazing horses. For anybody that's never seen a Brumby or never been up and know the difference between a Brumby and a normal domesticated horse, there really is a big difference. And you just fall in love with them. They're beautiful.
So they've got the street smarts, so to speak, and I guess they've had to have their wits about them. I wonder the difference in the healing power of a Brumby versus a domesticated horse. Do you see much difference there?
Yeah, I do. But all horses, as you said earlier, are healing. But the Brumbies really, they listen to the energy or feel the energy of people and will match it. So if you're not feeling so good, and I do this, sometimes you just need to go out into the paddock and sit with a Brumby, and I'm lucky that I can. Just sit there. If your energy's low, then they will come up and put their head on your shoulder. And they don't do anything. They just put their head on your shoulder and just let you be you, and then you let them be them at the same time. So I personally believe that they have a strong healing, and I'm sure the Ngarigo and any other mob that have horses on their country would say the same thing about them.
I've interviewed a couple people before that have, I don't know what you call them. I guess you would call them horse whisperers or something like that. But there's one person that I remember I interviewed a long time ago who actually used her horses to coach people and to heal people in that way. So, and to help them release trauma and different things. And the horse would actually communicate in that way and be able to tell whether that person was still holding on to something. So, I mean, I've heard phenomenal things about the abilities of horses, not only to help you to release trauma, but to help you to heal, to help you actually, you know, yeah. They're absolutely incredible animals. Very much incredible animals. Unfortunately, haven't been around any horses in a very, 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 very long time. But, I see them as beautiful creatures, and I really believe that they've got a sixth sense that they can see inside. They can tell what's going on. They can tell if you've got a problem. They can tell if you're holding resentment. They can tell if you're, angry and you're holding that inside. They can tell if you've got unforgiveness, and it all shows up in their behavior and everything else. I just think that is absolutely phenomenal. They don't understand English like we do, if you will. So it's incredible, their abilities.
Agreed. Yeah. That sixth sense, right? It's like, we are, as human beings or spiritual beings having a human experience, we are connected to everything. And even if we don't speak exactly the same language, we can feel things and we can sense things. And the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the mind. So actually just tuning in, getting on the same wavelength, right? That's where the magic happens. And I have always loved horses. As a child, horses were one of my favorite animals. I've just always had this love and admiration for horses. And they say a horse is a man's best friend, right? I mean, if you think of all the wars that people have been through over the years with horses, I mean, the police ride horses around the place, and horses are so intrinsic to to human life, and they're a mode of transport for so long, and now of course killing the Brumbies off is potentially killing off potential transport for people down the track. This is another concern, because what if all the fuel, we've got the Hormuz Strait and all the drama with Trump and that all going on at the moment. Our resources on the planet are becoming more and more limited, and so it's almost like, well, we are going to start going more back to the way things were hundreds of years ago, potentially, as ways of getting around. This is what we're going to be looking at, and more people are looking at how they can become more self-sustainable, how they can have their own fruit and vegetable growing in their yard and have organic food without all the fire ant poisoning. Well, that's a whole other story. The fire ant treatment that's killing all the bees and the pollinators, and that's a whole other story again. More evilness, more darkness from government. And the thing is, there's a lot more people than there are people in we say grubberment nowadays. There are a lot more people that are in the grubberment. There's a lot more humans, a lot more people on the ground than there are government. And government, the word government means mind control, interestingly. And the most deaths we have had across the planet have been by democide, by government death. We've had 262 million, if you can believe the numbers online, 262 million people killed across the world by democide, by government death. And of course, animals are another statistic, unfortunately. Many, many animals. They're also killing other wildlife. They're killing galahs and rainbow lorikeets, and all these other amazing animals are being cockatoos, bats. More people have died from gaming machines falling on them than from the Lassa virus, from the bat situation. And now there's the bird flu, and now they're vaccinating wildlife in Australia because of this apparent bird flu that a lot of people are not buying the stories at all after what we saw through the whole COVID program. Yes, Ken, you want to say something there?
First of all, it's like, oh my gosh, like all of that. But the other thought, and I meant to say something earlier, but it totally skipped my mind, and now the thought's back. So, when it comes to like hunting and different things like that, I don't have a problem with hunting. I have a problem with hunting hunting for the sport of it. If you're gonna hunt something, freaking eat it.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
agree.
that's what God gave us animals for. To eat. He gave us that in Genesis chapter 9. All living, crawling creatures are yours. He gave us the animals and said, yes, eat. And so, I mean, that's okay. Would I have the ability to kill something and eat it? That would probably be very hard for me, to be honest with you. I'd have to have somebody else do it because I don't think I would be able to look that whatever it is straight in the eyes and then shoot it. Yeah. The eating part's probably going to be a different story, but the moment of getting there, yeah, no. But the hunting things, just for the freaking sport of it, it's like, how heartless can you be? Like, honestly, like, how heartless can you be? That I definitely don't agree with. I mean, even as something as innocent as spearfishing, just for the fun of it. And the only reason why I think of that is because there was one time where I went spearfishing with a friend of mine in Laguna years and years ago when I was back in my early 20s. And in the beginning, I thought it was kind of a fun experience until he finally speared this fish. And I remember looking at this fish through the clear water back then of Laguna Beach. And I just remember feeling sorry for that fish. Like, just going, you didn't even know what happened to you. And, now you're slowly dying right there in front of me. I don't know. I could not do it for the sport. If I needed to survive by killing something and eating it, then I could probably make myself do it. But that's about as far as it gets.
Yeah, and the Aboriginals did, they hunted to eat. That's what they did. And we're very fortunate nowadays that we have other options. We don't have to eat meat for health. And I know Ken will probably disagree with this.
100%.
A lot of very healthy vegans out there, and whether you eat meat or don't eat meat, that's your personal choice. I am mostly vegetarian. I've had my bouts of being vegetarian, and I'm, let's say, 99% vegetarian, and I would like to think that I'm fairly healthy. But Ken loves his meat, and each to their own. And so really it's about, if you are going to kill an animal, kill it quickly and humanely. Do not let it suffer the way that we've been seeing has been happening with the government shooting mobs of Brumbies that are running. There's no way you can get a clear shot if you're shooting from helicopter.
Don't pump an animal with 15 bullets and call that humane.
Yeah, no.
And they're shooting them. They're shooting them from the rear. They're shooting them, through the rump. They're shooting them through the top of their shoulders. They're not shooting them in the head. Some get shot in the lungs. So they're trying to go for a heart shot, which would be quicker. But still, they're running. You see them on the ground after they've been killed, and they've got froth in their nose, meaning that they were breathing while they were on their last breaths. Because they've been shot through the lungs, and the lungs are filling up with blood, and that's coming out their nose. And then you've got horrible, horrible photos that are of mares, like you said, that have been shot that are still alive, that are aborting their foals. They're trying to birth their foals as the very last thing that they are doing, and then the foal dies halfway, and then the mare dies. It's horrendous what they're doing with the management style that they've chosen, which is the aerial culling. And there is, so like the koalas, which is disgusting as well, there's a court case that is going through the justice system in New South Wales at the moment, trying to stop the culling, aerial culling in New South Wales. So not just KMP, that's the focus at the moment. But if the judgment goes our way, then they can use it right across New South Wales and potentially into other parts of Australia as well. That goes back to court for some directions to set a hearing this coming week. so that they can work out what's happening there. But that court case is around, it's focusing on the inhumanity, the cruelty that these horses are enduring as they're being managed through the aerial cull.
Yes,
Aldwyn, check the private chat.
There's no excuses for animal cruelty.
No.
Yes, I'll have a look at that. Thank you. And I can see there's a whole lot of comments coming through too. Thank you so much, everyone who's been putting comments in. We've got Danielle Gallagher here. People are starting to wake up to this corrupt government. Thanks for speaking up, doing what you can for our Brumbies. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate it. And for everyone out there who's doing their bit for the Brumbies. I know there have been rallies across Australia. I've been seeing a lot more people getting vocal about it and sharing across our social media. And the thing is, there is such a thing as karma, I believe. And, we can do our bit to help stop this from happening. And that's the best we can do, right? So the thing is to stay, the challenge for you is to stay high vibe as much as possible, to get into action, to positive action, regardless of, you use this anger and this upset as fuel to take positive action. Okay, because this is the thing. A lot of people get so frustrated with what's going on, totally understandably. And, for me, when I share about something, or when I get the word out about something, I feel in some way that I've done my bit to help, raise awareness or to help take positive action in the community. And this is something we can all do that takes, everyone's, got their challenges going on, and everyone at some point feels like they're time poor or whatever. But sharing a post, like, for example, sharing this interview right now, for example, you never know who it's going to impact. We had with the Aussie Daily story, they did based on our press release, and they did a little bit of my background story that they wanted to know about. That story within 24 hours had 1,500 shares off the Aussie Daily Facebook page and 200,000 views within 24 hours. So the ripple effect is getting out there. The information's getting out there, thanks to people like yourself, Rachel, and some of the groups you're involved with. We've got Jan Des here, completely right. If we don't stand up against this dreadfully inhumane cruelty, then we'll stand for anything. I do think that if some land could be found for a sanctuary, then people would donate to have a forever safe place for the Brumbies, because it's very clear that this government does not care. In fact, they love to kill animals. Yes, it does seem that they're that satanically, whatever your religious beliefs, but, I'm saying Satan, but dark forces, whatever dark forces behind this, to have a Ken's just running to the loo there, so we'll just take him out for a second. To have a forever safe place for the Brumbies, because it's very clear this government does not care. In fact, they love to kill animals. Bizarre and alarming, but true. That Chris Minns stated in a radio interview that he wants people to be able to hunt in the park. Chris Minns.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Wow. And those horses know something. I can't see the rest of your message, but have a look on the Facebook page, Total Truth Show, for that. Thank you, Jan, for sharing that. Yes, it's outrageous. Great talk. Thank you so much. Jan also says here, agree, killing horses eliminates a method of transport. In Tassie, I think it is. The government is making it illegal to give away food. Control of food, control of transport. We need to step up, stop this control. Exactly. And God did not give people animals for food. Dominion over animals. We must care for them. Watch Dominion of the film. That might change your mind. Oh, thank you, Jan. Thank you. Well, there we go. I have to make sure Ken sees that message there about God did not give animals for food. Well, that's very interesting. You see, here we are open to all opinions. Okay, so we encourage you to be kind with everyone, no matter what their opinion, because I think everyone is doing the best they can with what they know. And so there's no need to be nasty to anyone or any animals for that matter. And hurt people.
Yeah,
and hurt people hurt animals, unfortunately. Hurt people, and hurt people, hurt animals. And also healed people, heal people, and healed people, heal animals. The thing is that horses innately are beautiful, natural, healed from birth, right? As we probably were as babies and as toddlers. We were open and innocent and loving, and then somehow we got shut down as human beings, and we became bitter and twisted and became, everyone's got their own traumas, I guess, that they've gone through. And some people have become very angry and very, frustrated, and they tend to take it out, unfortunately, on animals and humans. Some of these people somehow get into government. I don't know how that happens, but this is what we're dealing with. And so, Rachael, can you share a bit more about the New Dawn Safe Haven Sanctuary and what happens there?
Yeah, so we've got 2 sanctuaries. We've got one at Talgarth and we've got another one in Victoria. We've got currently 21 Brumbies under our care, but soon to be 28 because of some amazing donations and some supporters. We are now able to get another 7 into care, so they'll take us to 28. Then, of course, we've got our own animals on the sanctuary as well. So what we try and do, though, is we are the positive side of things. I call us, we're part of the rehoming wheel, and it's a really important part. The rehomers get the horses out of the national parks. They take them to, they move them into new homes. Some of those horses come into sanctuary for the rest of their life, but others go to private homes. And what happens sometimes, unfortunately, is people's lives change, and then they can't keep those horses anymore. So they'll go through sale yards, or they'll be sold privately. And we often come and pick up those horses that find themselves without a home or without life care. So we fit into that space a lot. And then I take in the orphan foals. So I've had 10 orphan foals in the last few years. I've got 4 this current season, I suppose you would call it. 3 are now just off their bottles and 1's still on a bottle. And I give them that care and love, and that's what New Dawn does as well. One of our little babies came in. She was just 24 hours old, and she needed a plasma transfusion because she didn't get the benefit of her mother's milk. And we did that through a lot of donors' support, so people supporting New Dawn Sanctuary. We were able to pay for that for her and give her the greatest chance at life. And she is just the most beautiful little foal. She's 5 months old now, this little girl. So that's what we focus on, is trying to give every animal, every horse, every Brumby a place to stay for life. And if we do find animals that need our care, it doesn't matter what they are, we will take them in. So yeah, two locations across Australia. We are looking to buy some land to put more animals on in sanctuary. That's a slower process, and then we can, as everybody wants to do, have some more space for these Brumbies. But it's a really good organisation to work with, New Dawn. It's a group of very dedicated committee people who, my gosh, I think I would put in about 7 or 8 hours a day into New Dawn, and that's not looking after the horses, that's just dealing with lots of other things. And there are many of our committee that do that. We often put food on the horses, in the horses' mouths, instead of putting food on our own tables. That's the level of commitment that we have to these beautiful sentient beings.
Well, that's extraordinary. Thank you so much to yourself and everyone in New Dawn Safe Haven. And people can check out the Facebook page there, New Dawn Safe Haven Inc. Facebook page. Check out the great work they're doing there. And how can the public support you? So obviously donations help. What else can people do to help?
So sponsorship, all of our horses are available to be sponsored. Just because we have one sponsor doesn't mean that we wouldn't like another sponsor. Sponsorship is $50 a month on an ongoing basis for the horse, and then you get photos and updates of your horse, videos and the like, a little gift every year that we'll send you from the committee. $50, as you would know, doesn't go very far when you're talking about a $30 bale of hay that one horse might go through every 2 days.
Wow.
We run, so it's expensive what we're doing.
And that's just for
auctions.
hay and food and stuff. That doesn't probably come near for covering medical costs and different things like that.
No, so just as I was talking about baby Lena there, her transfusions and all of the vet care for her was over $3,000 just for that one little baby, and that was before she was a week old. Wow. So there's a lot. So we do reach out to people on our Facebook page to ask for donations for certain events, but we're also open to coming and volunteering. So you don't have to financially give. If you can come and spend some time, then you get the benefit of playing with the Brumbies as well, because we've got fencing to do, we've got feeding to do, we've got yard cleanups to do. So volunteering is another way, but sharing all of our posts is another, something that doesn't cost you anything, not even that much time to do that. So many different ways that you can come and assist with what we're trying to achieve. Donations. We run auctions as well on a monthly basis, sometimes twice a month, and buying something off the auction, then you get the benefit of having something physical, and we try and keep it horse related as well. Mandy Finelli does a fantastic job of setting up these auctions and then posting things out very quickly to people once they've paid. But those auctions bring in a little bit of money for us every month as well. So we're not always putting our hand out for donations.
And the two locations, where are they for?
So Talgarth Farm is at Majors Creek, and Wild Horse Paradise is in Victoria.
Okay. All right, excellent. So people can go out there and volunteer, and I mean, it'd be amazing, to be in the presence of these beautiful Brumbies and horses, I'm sure. So thank you so much, everyone at New Dawn Safe Haven Inc., for everything you've been doing for the Brumbies and horses, and also for everyone who has supported you in any way. And even a small amount of money can go a long way. If everyone just pitches in a little bit, or maybe they go on a monthly donation, even if it's $5, $10, whatever it is, it all adds up, right?
It certainly does. Yeah, $5 goes a long way. If you've got 50 people adding $5 in a month, that's a lot of horse food we can get.
Yes, phenomenal, Rachael. Thank you so much. I know you do need to leave soon. I think you're feeding horses in the background there right now. So is there anything else you'd like to share before you wrap up today?
So just two things. One is, do your research. Don't trust everything that you hear and say or that you see in the mainstream news, and even on Facebook. Do your own research and make up your own mind. Don't just follow what everybody else says, because there's always three sides to the story, isn't there? There's mine, there's yours, and then there's the truth. So that's one piece. The second thing is, don't give up. We aren't giving up this fight for the Brumbies. We will keep going until we get an outcome. And even then, we'll probably keep fighting.
Yeah.
So don't give up.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Rachael. That's some very wise words of wisdom there. And if people want to connect with you, of course, you've got the Facebook page. You're going to have a website up shortly as well?
Yes, that's
New Dawn Safe Haven. Okay, so that link for the website will be newdawnsafehaven.com. So that's in process at the moment. That will be up there shortly. And do you have a favourite quote or motto you'd like to share with us today, Rachael?
Never say no.
Never say no.
Something that my mum said to me when I was a little girl, and I've carried that right through to present day. Never say no. There's always a way to do it.
Yes, where there's a will, there's a way.
And I was going to say, I'm glad you clarified that, because I'm like, there's got to be a dual meaning to that, because there is a place where people do need to say no because they've got too much on their plate. But I know you weren't necessarily talking about that.
No, that's correct. But I still do need to learn to say no when because having 9 jobs and still trying to do everything like this, it's I do need to learn to say no. But my motto is don't say no. So how can I not?
It's prioritized, right?
Nothing is beyond you. Everything can be achieved if you just put your mind and your heart into it. So that was my real meaning with never say no. If somebody says, can you do something? Yes, of course I can. Have you done it before? No, but I'm going to give it a go.
Yes. And remember, everything is hard until it becomes easy, right?
Yeah,
So
that's it.
starting is 50% of anything, is just starting. And, once again, thank you so much, Rachael. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. And
thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rachael. And please connect with Rachael. You'll find her on New Dawn Safe Haven. You'll find some information there. Please share the love. And if you can donate, whether it's time or energy or money or in any which way, will absolutely help with New Dawn Safe Haven and so many other amazing, sanctuaries and places that are supporting the Brumbies too. So please keep sharing the love. Thank you so much. And Ken, as we come to wrap, thank you, Rachael. See you later.
See you later, Rachael.
Thank you. Amazing. Rachael Macdonald has been joining us today for the Total Truth Show episode 141. The Truth About Brumby Numbers. Wow, wasn't that powerful, Ken? Gosh.
Yes, that was very powerful.
So much we don't know, right? And I'm learning all the time. I certainly only heard about the Brumby situation a little while ago, and it's just blowing my mind what is going on. And I had to step up and speak up about it. I could not remain silent. And I think once you know the information, there's no unknowing of the information. So you've been tuning in live. Thank you so much for joining us. And please share the love and let us know anything that can help as well to get the word out or to raise some more awareness about something. If you have some information that could be interesting for us, please pop it in the comments under here or reach out to myself or Ken. We're always looking to interview people who have something unique to share. So please reach out to one of us. Now, Ken, where can people connect with you, my friend?
All right, guys. So if you don't know by now, I've lost 62.5 pounds and I've kept it off for 7+ years now without a diet and having that be sustainable. And the question that I often get is not, how did you lose that weight? But the question that I get is, how have you been able to keep it off sustainably? Right? Because anybody can go out there and lose weight. How many people do you know have been able to keep it off? So right now, I'm literally giving away my 3 secrets to not only help you lose weight, but get healthy and feel energized without starving or dieting. And right now I've got a mini educational boot camp series that's 3 one-on-one live sessions with me where I'm giving away where I'm exposing the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I'm showing people how they can feel their body God's way and finally break free and keep the weight off sustainably for life, like I've been able to do. So to get in touch with me and to also join that boot camp, you go to www.masteryweightloss.com/connect. That is my connect site. And you'll get to there. And there's 4 buttons on that page. The first one is to join my educational boot camp. The second one is to book a free strategy call with me. Hey, maybe you don't know where your next steps are going to be. Let's get on a Zoom call. Let's unpack that together. And the last 2 buttons are to subscribe to my main YouTube channel and to friend me on Facebook. All right. So that is how you can get in contact with me. www.masteryweightloss.com/connect.
Beautiful. And your quote today, Ken?
Ooh, I don't have a quote for today. So I'm going to come up with one. So I really like what Rachael said at the end of today's episode. So I'm going to quote from Rachael. So here's my quote from Rachael. Do your own research. Stop trusting the numbers. Stop trusting what we're being told. Stop just accepting it as the truth and start doing the digging for yourself. Ask the questions, ask the hard questions, go look at the data, start looking things up. That is what we stand for here on Total Truth Show. And so that's my quote, straight from Rachael.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ken. And for those who want to connect with me, just hop along to a linktree/Aldwyn. That's got all my links there. At the top there, you'll see my media website. There's 5 top tips to gain TV exposure. You can download that free download there. There's also the Global Good News Challenge link. We encourage people to share gratitude and good news every month through the Global Good News Challenge. It is free for you to participate. It's free marketing for whatever you've got going on. We have an 8-day challenge currently for the 8th month for August 2026. And you can start anytime within the month sharing gratitude and good news. Check out the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. At the top is all the details on how to participate. Also, we have coming up, we're going to be doing our 20th annual Animal Action event. This year is going to be a retreat to Dili, to Timor-Leste or East Timor. We're going to be swimming with whales and dolphins and amazing giants of the sea. We've got this Marine Odyssey adventure coming up late October in just a few months' time. So if you want to find out more about that, check out the Animal Action Events Facebook page or my links there as well, or reach out for more information there. So there's just a few of my links. And if you want to be seen, heard and known, of course, reach out as well. We have a mass media mastery program, and we do help you get yourself out there and be seen, heard and known through positive publicity and mass media exposure. So linktree/Aldwyn, you'll see that all through my socials. Horses inspire us with their grace, strength, and the lessons they teach about trust, courage, and freedom. And this one here, Sharon Rawls Lemon here, this quote from her: "The essential joy of being with horses is that it brings us in contact with the rare elements of grace, beauty, spirit, and freedom." And there's certainly something ultra special when you look into horses' eyes, and when you really connect with a horse. They are the most beautiful, gentle creatures. They are absolutely magnificent. And I think the more we can do to protect our wildlife and our beautiful animals that we share the planet with, I think the better we will be as human beings, the more in tune we will be when we connect with wildlife and with nature. And I know when I have quiet time with animals, it definitely brings a new sense of peace for me in life. And, you know, whether it's, all animals I think are unique and extraordinary. So yeah, let's make some time to really connect and appreciate animals, and to do what we can to help with creating more kindness, more awareness, more compassion for animals across the world. And one of my other favorite quotes, as some of you have heard before, is the Gandhi quote: "Be the change you wish to see in the world." If you're not happy with something going on out there, then what can you do to create change or impact change in some way? And one very simple thing you can do is you can comment on this post, you can share the love wherever you're seeing this, and help to educate people, because information is power. If informed people can make informed decisions and can help impact change. It starts with being open-minded enough to look at what's really going on behind the scenes, which is what this show is all about, and helping to then share the love with others. Ken, final words before we wrap up today?
I don't think I have any.
Okay.
Just I wish more people would stand up against what's being done to these horses. I wish you guys would create thousands and thousands and thousands of people that would crowd over and go protest at the offices of these people. So there we go.
Yes. Thank you. And there are increasing numbers turning up at these rallies as well. So thank you so much for everyone doing that. And stay tuned with the Brumby Facebook groups. There's a whole heap of them that you'll find. Just look up Brumby or Brumbies in Facebook and you'll see a heap of groups. I suggest join as many of them as you can. And that's where you'll find out often about these rallies that are happening across Australia at the moment, and all the other information out there to help get informed and get empowered. Thank you so much for joining us here on Total Truth Show today. We are sending you all very much love and appreciate you tuning in, appreciate you doing your bit to make a difference out there. And thank you so much, Ken. It's always a pleasure. We look forward to seeing you for more exciting episodes of Total Truth Show. Make sure you like our Facebook page. Check us out on Spotify. We're also on BitChute and Rumble. All right. Much love. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now. Bye.